Harry, who's that standing next to the Queen? Is that a servant? That's what Harry wrote in his book Spare. How stupid is this man that he actually believes it? Or is it that he wanted to believe it?
Meghan Markle, as previously having been a, quote, yacht girl, there have been more revelations going viral from the past. And I want to show you this.
She was a yacht girl. That's right. It's mentioned in the book. Meghan used to entertain as a yacht girl.
What if I told you the most explosive royal scandal of the decade isn't the arrest itself, it's what was sitting inside the hard drives? Prince Andrew, once untouchable, once wrapped in velvet privilege and palace protection, is now staring at flashing cameras and sealed evidence bags. And while the headlines scream about misconduct, influence, and backroom dealings, insiders are whispering something far more dangerous.
The reports are that Prince Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, has been arrested.
Meghan, this is historic. There has not been a crisis like this in 90 years.
It's not about what Andrew did. It's about who he knew. Because when the Thames Valley Police walked into Royal Lodge, they didn't just take statements. They took laptops, phones, external drives, private correspondence, decades of elite connections compressed into digital files now sitting under fluorescent lights.
Whoa, okay. The House and Habit bombshell investigation into Meghan Markle is close to dropping.
And here's the question nobody in Buckingham Palace wants trending. If Prince Andrew's private network is about to be opened, whose name might be inside? Before she became the polished Duchess of Montecito, before the fairy tale wedding at Windsor, Meghan Markle moved in very different circles. Exclusive circles. Velvet rope circles. The kind you don't photograph. You remember. Coincidence? Or countdown? Because if those files talk, this story doesn't just shake a prince. It detonates a dynasty. Stay with me.
A man called Kevin Blatt. Now, he is a celebrity tape broker, ladies, where he describes a 2018 call from a woman claiming to possess a 4-year-old tape of a Meghan who is about to marry a prince.
Her name is Meghan, and she's about to marry a prince in England.
No.
What? Yeah, this story's not true, too. It is true. I believe this is bad.
Let's rewind the clock. Before the headlines. Before Montecito. Before the carefully curated interviews and the soft-focused documentary lighting. Before Meghan Markle became the woman who married Prince Harry. There was Soho House. And if you know, you know. Soho House wasn't just a members-only club. It was a passport. A gateway. A filter for the ultra-connected and the quietly powerful. Billionaires. Political heirs. Offshore investors. The kind of people who don't introduce themselves, they are introduced. And somewhere in those guest lists, years before the royal engagement, Meghan Markle's name begins appearing.
This is Karina Shuliak, Epstein's girlfriend.
And the only times she traveled and went anywhere was with him. And guess who's on the other end with her Panama hat?
Now pause. Is attending exclusive events illegal? No. Is networking a crime? Of course not. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Several former staff members, speaking anonymously, because apparently NDAs at Soho House are tighter than vault doors, claim certain special gatherings weren't exactly charity galas. One insider told us there were 2 guest lists, the public one and the real one. 2 guest lists. Let that sink in. Around the same time, Prince Andrew was also a familiar face within elite international circuits. Trade delegations, luxury retreats, private island fundraisers. Always photographed just enough to look respectable. Never enough to look suspicious. And here's where the timelines start overlapping. Travel records show Prince Andrew attended a Mediterranean investment summit hosted by financier Jeffrey Epstein. 3 weeks later, Meghan Markle was photographed at a Soho House event sponsored by the same foundation arm. Coincidence? Maybe. But when patterns repeat, they stop being random. Sources inside Buckingham Palace now admit, off record, of course, that internal background checks were conducted when Meghan's relationship with Prince Harry became serious. Standard procedure, they say. But what exactly were they checking? Because one former palace aide told The Telegraph, there were concerns about circles. Not actions. Circles.
We really never thought we'd see anything like this. There are currently 2 teams of police on the King's estate, searching the King's property.
Circles. That word keeps coming back. And then there's Sarah Ferguson, initially one of Meghan's loudest public supporters, smiling at events, offering fashion advice, teaching her how to navigate the ancient etiquette of Windsor. But fast forward 4 years. When asked about Meghan in an interview, Sarah Ferguson reportedly said, "I don't know her well." You don't know her well? After public endorsements? After shared appearances? After private meetings at Royal Lodge? People don't reverse like that without pressure. And insiders are now suggesting something shifted, quietly, long before Prince Andrew's arrest. Because here's the thing about elite families. They don't panic publicly. They prepare privately. Multiple sources claim that months before the Thames Valley Police stepped into Royal Lodge, certain digital archives inside Buckingham Palace were restructured. Backups relocated. Access permissions adjusted. Again, nothing illegal. But when an arrest suddenly happens, and devices are seized, and decades of private communications enter the custody of investigators, old conversations don't stay buried. And if Prince Andrew's files contain private guest lists, encrypted correspondence, offshore travel manifests, closed-door event invitations, then this story isn't about one prince's misconduct. It's about who shared the room. And if Meghan Markle's name appears anywhere in those digital footprints, even innocently, the optics alone could be catastrophic. Because perception, in royal politics, is everything. And right now, perception is cracking. But this is where it gets darker. Because the arrest didn't just isolate Prince Andrew. It isolated him from protection. And a cornered royal with nothing left to lose? That's not tradition. That's leverage. And if he decides to talk, we're not looking at scandal. We're looking at exposure.
I suddenly think, this guy, Andrew, what he's done to this family is absolutely appalling, isn't it?
Yes.
Now here's where the story stops being whispers and starts sounding like strategy. Because according to a senior source inside the Thames Valley Police, and yes, this source insisted on complete anonymity, what investigators found inside Prince Andrew's primary laptop wasn't just routine correspondence. It was categorization, folders, carefully labeled archives, travel, private dinners, foundation events, Soho House, the same private network that repeatedly intersects with Meghan Markle's early social climb. One investigator allegedly described the data cache as a social blueprint of the elite.
And I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, "Hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before you."
Let that phrase breathe for a second. A social blueprint. Meaning this wasn't random party attendance. This was mapping. Who met who? Where? When? Under what circumstances? And here's the part that has Montecito insiders pacing marble floors at 2 a.m. Embedded inside one archived email chain from nearly a decade ago was a VIP guest coordination list for a Mediterranean retreat funded by Jeffrey Epstein's philanthropic arm. That list included financiers, political donors, media executives, and a name that appeared under special introduction guests, M. Markle. Now, before you scream conspiracy, breathe. Initials don't prove anything. But investigators didn't stop at initials. Because alongside that list were flight manifests from a chartered Gulfstream jet departing Nice 2 days later. 3 passengers confirmed. 1 listed only as MEM. And here's where it gets even more cinematic. Photos recovered from an encrypted USB allegedly stored in a folder titled Archive Private, not for release, show Prince Andrew at a private dock reception.
She'd been a Deal or No Deal girl. She was calling herself a model, and she was starring in a show Suits. She used to charge almost $30,000 per trip, which is why she was making good money. It wasn't on Suits. It was on her yachting trip.
Velvet sunset. Champagne towers. A yacht anchored offshore with no visible registration markings. And in the background, a woman resembling Meghan Markle during her pre-royal era. Resembling. Not confirmed. But close enough that palace advisors are reportedly in full damage control rehearsal mode. One former Soho House staffer told the Daily Beast, certain guests weren't there for networking. They were there for access. Introductions were curated. Meetings were intentional.
Meghan Markle was known as a hardcore yacht partying person, ready for anything.
Intentional. That word again. Public reaction? Oh, it's nuclear. Social feeds exploded within hours of the arrest update. Hashtags like #AndrewFiles and #MarkleCircles started trending. Commentators are split, some calling it a coordinated smear, others demanding transparency. And then came the leak. A blurred screenshot circulating online shows what appears to be a message exchange between Prince Andrew and an unidentified contact referencing the Montecito connection and keeping narratives aligned. Keeping narratives aligned. Aligned with what? Aligned against who? Aligned before what event? Because timing is everything. Prince Harry proposed shortly after those Mediterranean gatherings. Shortly after Meghan's international visibility skyrocketed. Shortly after certain private associations quietly disappeared from public record. Coincidence? Or choreography? Buckingham Palace has issued a carefully neutral statement urging the public not to speculate. Which, of course, guarantees that everyone will. Because when an empire built on image starts scrambling over optics, it means something inside those seized files isn't just embarrassing. It's combustible. And we haven't even touched the financial layer yet.
Many things in Meghan's past, I think, are patchy at best. And she is going to be worried about this. Because, again, the mainstream media have not reported on the fact Meghan Markle was friends with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend.
Here's the part nobody inside Buckingham Palace wants discussed on camera. Money leaves footprints. And when forensic accountants were brought in to assist the Thames Valley Police, they weren't looking for gossip. They were looking for transactions, transfers, foundations, sponsorships, silent investments routed through shell entities with names that sound like luxury perfumes. One flagged document, according to a financial analyst briefed on the inquiry, outlines a private events series funded through Jeffrey Epstein's overseas trust. The funding trail allegedly intersects with a hospitality group connected to Soho House. That alone might be dull. But then comes the date alignment. The same quarter those funds were dispersed, Meghan Markle's travel frequency spiked dramatically. Private aviation, luxury Mediterranean circuits, closed-door investor weekends. Again, none of that is illegal. But when the funding source and the guest list overlap inside seized correspondence from Prince Andrew's devices, it stops looking random. And here's the tension point. Prince Andrew is no longer shielded by palace immunity. No ceremonial protection. No quiet relocation to another estate. He is isolated. And isolation changes incentives. A senior royal commentator told The Telegraph, when a disgraced prince sits across from federal investigators, loyalty becomes currency. Currency. What happens if Prince Andrew begins cooperating? What happens if he decides that transparency benefits him more than silence? Because sources close to Royal Lodge claim that during preliminary questioning, Andrew asked a very specific question. Are you investigating associations or activities? Associations, that word is the landmine. If this shifts from misconduct to network mapping, then every name inside those digital archives becomes relevant, not criminally, but reputationally. And reputation, in royal politics, is oxygen. Meanwhile in Montecito, insiders describe the atmosphere as controlled but tense. Advisors are reportedly reviewing past public appearances, archived interviews, event attendance timelines. One strategist allegedly said, "We need to know what they have before we know how to respond." That doesn't sound like confidence. That sounds like contingency planning. Public sentiment is splitting into two extremes. Some argue this is character assassination orchestrated by factions within the royal machine. Others believe the elite have protected each other for decades, and that the digital age just ended that protection. And then there's Prince Harry. Silent. Completely silent. No statement defending his wife. No condemnation of his uncle. No emotional appeal. Silence is not neutrality in moments like this. It's calculation. Because if the files contain nothing, this blows over. If the files contain overlapping timelines, this becomes a scandal. But if the files contain proof of curated introductions, strategic alignments, and coordinated narratives, this becomes a reckoning. And here's the reality no one can spin. When secrets live on hard drives, they don't stay buried forever. They wait. And right now, somewhere inside the Thames Valley Police's evidence vault, they are being opened.
The privacy laws are pretty strong here, and that's what she used as a weapon at the time. So there were quite a few things about her personal life. I'll work them into another book, I think.
Oh my goodness, Tom Bauer. I love that deep tease right there. That's something that we can look forward to.
And now we arrive at the part where the fairy tale either survives or shatters. Because this isn't just about Prince Andrew anymore. It's not even just about Meghan Markle. It's about power. It's about access. It's about what really happens inside velvet-roped rooms the public never sees. If those seized files contain nothing but routine correspondence, then fine. The headlines fade, the outrage cools, and the dynasty resets. But if even a fraction of these overlapping timelines, curated introductions, and aligned narratives prove real, then this isn't gossip. It's architecture. And architecture doesn't collapse quietly. So I have to ask you, do you believe this is a coordinated smear campaign designed to weaken certain royals? Or do you think we're watching the slow unraveling of a network that assumed it would never be audited? Why did certain associations disappear from public view years ago? Why did internal archives get restructured before the arrest? And why is everyone so calm, if there's nothing to hide? Drop your theory in the comments. Because the next wave of disclosures, financial trails, archived images, correspondence timestamps, could shift this from speculation to something much bigger. If you made it this far, you already know this story isn't random. It's layered, it's strategic, and it's just getting started. Like the video if you believe transparency should apply to everyone, titles or not. Subscribe if you want the updates before the headlines spin them. Because when the shine fades, the details tell the truth. And we're just beginning to read the fine print.